Hey guys, this is Joseph Lucero with Powerlifting Technique, and today we're going to talk about some top chest exercises you should be using. And in fact, by the end of the video, you will actually learn a full chest routine based on the exercises we chose and the volume we chose as well. So one thing you need to understand is that the chest has a certain anatomy. Your chest is the pectoralis major, aka the pecs. They're the ones that have the crease down the middle, attached to the sternum and the clavicle. And with that being said, with your sternum, your chest is broken down into two fibers, or two regions rather. You got the sternal head and the clavicular head. When you do your chest exercises, not only should it be from a horizontal position, but from an incline and a decline as well. I might not be able to show you an incline exactly, but I will mention it and how to use it and why it'd be most effective when you pick certain exercises. To start this day off, we're going to talk about the most important movement for your chest day, and that's the bench press. A lot of people will say, oh, the bench challenges your pecs, your triceps, your shoulders. It might not be exclusive to the chest, but my challenge to you is to understand this. The bench press, you can leverage a ton of weight. Like you can bench press more than you can dumbbell fly. So the fact you can overload your bench press means that you're overloading your pecs in addition to your triceps and shoulders, but it's just going to be the big movement that you should always think about when you start your chest day. So to show you the bench press, you have your power position. You want to make sure your feet, your hips, and your shoulders touch the bench. And all you're going to do from here is you want to get your feet, so your feet behind your knees. So don't put your feet ahead of you, put them behind the knees. You'll build an arch, retract your shoulder blades, find a grip that works for you, although maybe we can't highlight in this video. And your touch point should be where your forearms are vertical to the floor. So if I bench press too high, you can see how my forearms are traveling this direction diagonal. You want to make sure that you touch probably at the bottom of your sternum, and then you press up, rack it, and maintaining that power position and touch point is going to be great to keep your pecs engaged truly, and you're in the strongest position possible to overload your chest as effective as possible. So I know that was kind of a quick view of the bench press, but I'm sure if you investigate powerliftingtechnique.com, you'll find exclusive footage and articles that outline what is a bench press and how do you effectively do it. So if I was to start my chest day, I would do this for 2 sets of 6, and I would use about 76% of your 1 rep max just to give you some cushion and a good starting point into your routine so that you're successful and not fighting for every rep because of that. Now, the next exercise I'd recommend you to do, if you can stand right there, is the eccentric dip. So thankfully, I have access to this piece of equipment. I don't want it too tall. If it's too tall, it makes it hard to perform the eccentric dip. And that is my second movement that's going to be on this list. So the first thing you did was bench press 2 sets of 6 at 76% of your 1 rep max. Now you're going to do the eccentric dip. And what that means is you want to come up easily. So don't lift yourself up, like use a bench or a stool or a box to get yourself up. Just focus on the downward phase for about 5 seconds. You want to do this for 3 sets of 10. If you can't do 10, maybe less reps, but 10 would be good just to kind of keep up the high volume for more of a growth response. So I'm going to use the bench to lift up. I come down for 5 seconds. Lift up. Lift up. And I'll perform that for 10 reps. And because you're just doing the stretching phase, that's easier than pushing yourself up. And you're gonna feel a huge stretch in the pecs, especially on the lower end, on that sternal head of the pecs. The next thing you're gonna do after your 3 sets of 10 on here, you're gonna do a cable press fly. That one's hard to replicate, but we're gonna go ahead and do that anyway with the use of my bands. So you can do this 1 arm at a time, or you can do both. Right now, I'm just gonna show you 1 arm. When you do a fly, so you might wanna scoot back just a little bit, you want to put all the torque in your shoulder joint and work around that shoulder joint and keep your elbow fixated. But a press fly means that you're going to integrate not just the shoulder, but the elbow as well. So I'm bending at the elbow, and it kind of looks like just a press in general. But the reason it's a press fly is because if I had 2 cables here, I would want my elbows to be elevated, and I punch forward from a high elbow position. That's a press fly. And you can change your grip too if you want to influence the movement pattern, but don't do this with elbows tucked in. If you bring your elbows out, Now you're in the transverse plane of movement, and that corresponds a ton to the pectoralis major. So once you've done 2 sets of 6 on bench, 3 sets of 10 on dips, you'll go into 5 sets of 12 on the press fly, which will then lead you into the dumbbell fly. Now, ideally, with the dumbbell fly, you would do this from an incline so that now you have a different position, but I just have a flat bench. And it's gonna be like the press fly. All the torque is at the shoulder joint, and keep your elbows partially bent, but don't extend them, because that means now this is a single joint exercise where all the motion is happening at the shoulder joint and not the elbow joint. I would do that for 3 sets of 15. So every exercise I've done so far, I'm adding a little bit more reps. The final thing I like to do on chest day is the spoon press. I'm gonna have to grab these dumbbells again. But what's good about the spoon press is it's from a narrow position, and when you lay down, you're squeezing your pecs at the end of every rep. So right here, the dumbbells are together like a hex press. I just call it a spoon press. You're gonna press up and back down, and up and back down. But when you press, you squeeze your pecs together. That's what's gonna be firing off your pecs tremendously. And it's different than pressing with your arms outward or even wider in that case. So with that being said, that is my top chest exercises. Just to recap, bench, 2 sets of 6. That's a multi-joint movement, elbows and shoulders. You're gonna eccentric dip for 5 seconds, 3 sets of 10. That's another multi-joint compound movement. You'll do the cable press fly or with the bands, 5 sets of 12. That's another multi-joint compound movement. If you haven't caught on yet, compound multi-joint movements recruit more muscles, and even though you might not just be training your pecs, it overloads your pecs more, so the growth response is higher. The 4th exercise is just normal flies. It's an isolation single joint exercise, 3 sets of 15. And then the final thing you'll do is spoon press, which is working your shoulder and your elbow joint, which is a multi-joint compound movement. And that's gonna be 3 sets of 20, and that's squeezing your pecs at the end, which really fires off the sternal part of your chest. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you give this workout a chance. If you do, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. Let us know your results. If you have questions, concerns, leave a comment below. Subscribe, like the channel, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.